It's with Daniel. He's the head of IOTA Evangelist Network, and he will be talking about basics of IOTA and the various use cases that can be taken. We can have using IOTA as a platform. Daniel, over to you.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot for having me today. So, yeah, I'm gonna just, my name is Daniel De Michele, and I am the head of the IOTA Evangelist Network. Basically, what the IEN is a group of people with different backgrounds, different profiles, but we all have in common that we are working on something related to the IOTA protocol. So today I'm not going to be talking about the IEN. I'm going to be introducing some of the IOTA basics, and I will quickly review some verticals and some use cases. So before we start, I don't know if you guys know what IOTA is, but IOTA is a DLT for the IoT, okay? So some years ago, 5 years ago to be exact, these guys, IOTA founders, Sonstevo, Ivancheklo, Popov, started thinking about a DLT that could deal with the amount of information that the Internet of Things is gonna produce. We're talking about a lot of transactions here, and as you guys might know, the DLTs that existed by that time were all based on blockchain, so they had some limitations. They have performance limitations because, as you know, DLT such as Bitcoin or Ethereum is limited to, I don't know, from 6 or 7 transactions per second to 20 maybe on a good day. So that was an issue. And also the fact that you need to pay a fee in order to transact data in the IoT world does not make much sense, because most of the times that fee would be bigger than the value that the data has itself. You want to send data, probably you want to send some sensors data, and the value that that data will have won't be enough so as to justify a fee. So that is where everything starts. If you see here, well, this is the well-known blockchain problem. As you guys know, transactions on blockchains goes on blocks. They just need this sort of containers. Blocks have around 2,500 transactions, and you have to do this cryptographic hashing in order to validate the block, to find the nonce, and that is going to happen every 10 minutes. So basically, if you go to Bitcoin, that gives you around 5 or 6 transactions per second, and you also need to pay these fees that are somehow a problem on the IoT. So the first thing that the IOTA founders were trying to do, they were trying to retain the principles of a DLT, because they did want to have a distributed system, but clearly blockchain as a data structure was not correct. So they started thinking, okay, how can we overcome this situation? And what they ended up doing is they ended up creating a new data structure, which is called Tangle, and we will see right now. So basically, at the left we have the block sequence, the linear blocks sequence. We have the Bitcoin and Ethereum logos there. And if you take a look at the right, we have this thing, which actually it's a DAG. It's a directed acyclic graph. Oh, I have it in Spanish there. And basically, what the Tangle is we no longer need the blocks. We don't need a container for the transactions. Because if we have the blocks, then we have to mine the blocks, and that's going to require a fee somehow. So the idea is to get rid of the blocks and just leave the transactions do the work. So every single square or block you see here is actually only one transaction, okay? If you take a look from the right to the left, you will see that the last transactions are in dark gray or black. And then you have something like violet, and then you have this light green thing. basically, the only condition you have in order to place a transaction on the Tangle is that you gotta do a little proof of work, and you can do that with your computer or with your cell phone, and that proof of work is gonna validate two other transactions that were previously placed on the Tangle. Okay, so basically, if you wanna place your transaction on the Tangle, on the IOTA Tangle, you will have to validate two more transactions, two other transactions. This gives us a very key feature of IOTA, and that is that the more activity you have on the network, the more validation you have going on. And because we don't have blocks in here, there is no limit on how many transactions I can have per second. I mean, you have the bandwidth and full nodes throughput limits, of course, but the data structure does not have any limits itself. So this is the way IOTA deals with the blocks limitation of blockchain, and also, as you might already understood, if I'm gonna be doing the proof of work to validate two other transactions, there are no fees because I don't have any miners. I mean, I am the miner. When I do the proof of work with my CPU on my notebook or my cell phone, I am doing the proof of work, so I don't have to pay any fees to no one. And this is essential, as I said at the beginning, because on the economy of data and the IoT, probably the data sets you will be sending and distributing won't have that much value, so you can't have fees. And also, you will, of course, you will need to send, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. So clearly, blockchain was not a good solution. It doesn't matter. You can grow the block to 100 megabytes. You will have a problem then with the ledger. But even if you do that, that does not solve the issue. So this is a really nice animation. If you take a look, here we have a graphic representation of the Tangle, and the part that is moving, actually, that is the tip of the Tangle, and you can see how new transactions are being attached and are referencing two other transactions, as I said before, in order to get into the Tangle. Okay, and the deeper they go, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse cursor, but the deeper they go here, the more solid they are. So basically, once you enters the Tangle, then it's going to be referenced by others, and once you are, I don't know, some hours into the Tangle, your transaction is really solid. Okay, you could say that it has gained a lot of trust. Okay, so yeah, highly scalable because of the fact that the more activity you have, the more validation you have. Because in order to enter the Tangle, I gotta validate two other transactions. So if tomorrow I have 1 million transactions, those 1 million will be validating 2 million transactions. Zero fees because we don't have any miners. Quantum immune because IOTA uses the one-time signature scheme. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, and here's some other key aspect, the feeless thing. This is essential because as I was saying a minute ago, you can't have fees on the data economy. You might have sensors sending weather data, and that data is not going to cost enough money so as to pay a fee. So it was very important to find a way to have a feeless DLT, and that is what IOTA did by removing the proof of work from the miners to the users itself. Okay, so let's go into use cases. I don't want to take too much time, guys, because Brian, Sam, and Kumar will give amazing talks. So when we see this, I don't know, probably you see, oh, this is a very neat kitchen. but we, the IoT guys, we see this sort of stuff, you know. We see that you have energy consumption there, and probably you could have a way to measure that and only pay for the energy you use. So for instance, if you have an hotel, you probably can just have the customer start paying when he accesses the hotel with a smart lock, and he's gonna be paying only for the electricity he uses. Okay, so this allows this sort of granular economies and everything as a service. And we have a fridge that probably is gonna be able to communicate with the supermarket to get more milk, because you have a wallet at your home and you already allow the fridge to buy more milk if you run out of milk. And we have temperature, so you can regulate the heaters of the house. So as you see, we have like a lot of information, and right now we are not using this information. That is the truth. Most of this information is just wasted. So on IOTA, we say that the data is the oil of the future, you know, or that data is the new oil. And if you think a bit about that, you can already see how big companies are after your data. Also, you can see that if you're using something that you're not paying, you are the product, actually. I mean, your data is the payment. So the idea behind IOTA is to get control of your data. Use your data. The data has value, okay? If I have a home and I have a fridge, and that fridge knows stuff about my consumption habits, that data has a value for the fridge provider, for the supermarkets. Now, it's my call if I want to sell that or not, but I do control the data, and IOTA would be sort of a vehicle to get this done. So let's move to verticals and some use cases. Mobility is one of my favorite verticals, basically because here it is pretty obvious how we are just wasting data. Our cars have a lot of sensors, and they collect a lot of data, and the data goes to the computer, but then the data deads on the computer, or it deads on the scanner that you connect to the car to see what is going on. And the guy who is manufacturing the car does not get any of that data. Just imagine what Volkswagen could do with that information. If every car they have out there is sending data about the parts, how the parts behave, what parts are damaged first, and you as a car owner, you could charge Volkswagen for that, and you will have balance on your car's wallet to pay tolls, to pay parking. So here we have cars can pay, cars can communicate. You can do over-the-air updates. We have this very nice use case of platooning, which is also another example of how the granular economy works. Because if you have a truck and you platoon with another truck, you will end up spending less fuel. So it makes sense to have some sort of talk because between those two trucks. So the one that is behind and it's not going to spend that much fuel can pay the one who is at the front. No. So this is a very cool vertical, and IOTA also has been in touch with Volkswagen. Actually, Land Rover and Jaguar are doing some stuff. They are trying to integrate an IOTA wallet on their cars. So I really like this vertical. This is another key vertical for IOTA: supply chain and global trade. So, well, we know with this, what this is. Here, the key is to have an immutable audit trail of what is going on with stuff. What happened with the stuff we got on the table? I have this on the table, but what is the what is the whole path from the beginning to the end of this product? So the ability to know what happened, to have a documentation, and also to be able to track and trace all the steps for a product is key, and all that is immutable. So basically, you guys know what are the benefits of having immutable data. Nobody can touch that. And that is what you would expect from these sort of things. No one should be able to forge this stuff. So, well, today we will have Brian. Brian Bong is working on this vector, on health, so he's going to go deeper on this. I also love this vector because basically nowadays our health issue is not our. That is ironic, but that is the truth. Usually you go to certain clinics and they have your data, and probably if you go to a given clinic that it is not included in your health insurance or whatever, they won't have your data. Here in Argentina, this is the way it works. And the thing is that the data should be yours. You should control that data, and that is something that IOTA allows using his second layer data solution called MAM or Streams. Now MAM has changed name to Streams. So you should control your data. You should control who accesses your data, and your data, your health data, of course, also has value. So I don't know if you wanna have a different rate, on your health insurance, depending on what sort of life you do. You're not a smoker. You're a runner. You eat well. Well, maybe you can pay a bit less than some other guy that has a different alimentation habits, or probably they are just smokers and they don't do that. So again, you should be able to decide these sort of things, okay? But data should be yours, and you should be able to go to any clinic in the world and with a private key allow other people to access your data. Well, this is another beautiful use case, and I really love this graphic because those solar panels and the idea of a remaining electricity that was created, but it's not going to be used, so you can sell that to your neighbor or to your power station, charger station for the cars. It's just amazing. These are the little things that we don't see yet, but indeed we are going there slowly. So if I have the ability to create energy, and let's say that I created more energy than the one I'm going to use, I should be able to sell that energy to my neighbor or to whoever is close and might want or need that. So IOTA enables this. Keep in mind that IOTA is a DLT that has a value token, and you have also this data layer. So you have like this two-way traffic thing in which you can send data and you can get payments back. So yeah, smart energy indeed is one of the key verticals. And then we have industrial IoT. This is also a very, very cool use case. Last year we were in the Aachen lab in the University of Aachen. The Aachen lab is an industrial lab run by Daniel Trout, and it was just amazing. They show us how they monitor with a lot of sensors the industrial machines there, and they get 7 gigabytes of data per second. That's just crazy. I mean, it's just monitoring the machines. Again, when you have these very expensive machines, you can have a granular monitoring system that will allow you to match the machines. So if you see that you have one that is performing better than the other ones, you can try to find out, okay, why this is going on. There are a lot of things you can do here, and you can also sell this information, because it also has value. Of course, if I have a company or an industry, probably I will want to know how is another industry performing, which is in my same sector, and probably is using the same machines that I'm using. So yeah, industrial IoT or Industry 4.0 is what's coming. So okay, and I think this is the last one. And since I have done 20 minutes. So here is a bit of the same. Identity for refugees. IOTA has just released SELP, which is an application to control digital identity, and it is actually a demo to carry your health status with you, so you can basically show that to your employee, and he will know that you have tested negative of COVID-19. So again, this is not the vertical, and these use cases here in environmental and humanitarian impact are not probably the ones that I like the most. But yeah, indeed, there are a lot of things to do here. And if you take a look to IOTA, the whole project has like this green thing. The idea is to try to make the world a better place by allowing this sort of paper X economies and granular economies. Because if you pay only for what you use, probably you will start being more aware about what you're using and when you're using a resource in a way that probably you're just overusing it without any reason. So yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, and that's all. I don't know if we will have questions or not.
Yes, Daniel, there are a couple of questions from people.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is there any concept of reward or penalty here? Like, how do we know if a transaction is validated properly?
Wait. Could you please repeat that? Because I didn't hear the middle part.
Okay, so is there any concept of reward or penalty here? Like, how do we know if a transaction is validated properly? So basically, they're asking about if the transaction, for validating any transactions, are there rewards or penalties being given? Yeah. Is the concept there or not?
Okay, on IOTA, when you talk about validation, first of all, we gotta distinct between validation and confirmation. Okay, a transaction is validated right now when another transaction enters the Tangle and select your transaction as one of the two that he needs to validate in order to place his transaction. So basically, that is validating a transaction. The only thing that is going to do is it's going to check that the spender actually has the enough balance. So he's going to try to check if the formal structure of the transaction is okay, and that's all. And then you have the confirmation, which right now is done by the famous coordinator, which is a central entity that runs the network every 2 minutes and just confirm every transaction that it reached directly or indirectly and indirectly. Okay, so yeah, I think that I don't know if that answers the question actually, Manav.
Yeah, I think so. That answers. If they have anything in further, I think so. They can write. Guys can raise hands, and I can bring you there, and we can answer the.
Okay, no, I I didn't understand that last part, man. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. So the next question is they're talking about if a car is moving on a highway and the sensors detect some pothole on the road, and if there is an accident because of that, or because of a there's a landslide on the road, and the same is reported to the authorities. How long will this scenario, like what, and if the authorities are given the exact location, so how will this scenario work, and how will the people be rewarded in this case?
Okay, I have just noticed that I have the questions here on the chat. Sorry, man.
Okay.
So yeah, it's moving highway and the sensors detect potholes. There is an accident on the highway and or land fall on road, and it reports this image with that long how this scenario works. And well, yeah, it was on the use cases slide for mobility. Yeah, of course that. Just like now you are providing free data to Google Maps or Waze about what is going on, is there a traffic jam or whatever, you can get paid for this sort of information. So if your car has systems to detect these potholes and stuff, and then can offer that information to other cars on the area, you could get paid by that. I mean, why not? This is another case. I mean, probably we are talking about small money, but this is another case in which the information and the data that you have by being using that car in that place has a value to other cars that are going to be there after you. So that is how it works. I mean, the same way you tell to your GPS, say to other cars using the same application, hey, here there was a crash, here there is a traffic jam. You can say, hey, beware with the pothole, beware of, I don't know, whatever thing is going on the road. I don't know, probably you as a data buyer could select which information you want and which information you don't want to buy based on the, I don't know, on some sort of scale of how bad that thing that the other car found is, and that should be objective. But this is, I mean, this is all. I am just throwing this out. This is just going out of the top of my head because I don't know. But the important thing is that the technology, it is there. With IOTA, the technology is there. So then it's just a matter of see how do you articulate these sort of scenarios in order to get the payments. So I have another question here that says how it works in case of trading data, because the data is changing very frequently, seconds. Okay, yeah, the data is changing all the time. So that just it's just a matter of how granular you want to go. I mean, and that's up to what data you're getting, data you're asking. If you're working with weather data, you don't need to have data every 10 months because most probably it's going to be the same thing. Whether some variables will change or not, and they will, but the whole thing, the whole picture won't change a lot in 10 seconds. But if you want to go granular and you want to have like live data, I don't know, how do you trade that? Well, you can have live data, and again, these questions are more about how would you market the data, and they are not about how IOTA enables this, because IOTA enables to send the data and enables the payments. So it is not a thing about how does IOTA deal with this, because you can use streams to send the data and you can get payments using the IOTA token. But the questions point more to how would you solve this scenario, and IOTA does not seem to be the thing here. So I don't know. I think that this question, yeah, data is changing second by second, and if you want to have second by second data, you can have that using the Tangle, and I don't know how you will pay for that. That's up to what data you're getting. So, Manav, do you want me to read the questions here on the chat?
I can also tell you that's not an issue. So now the second question is how to become a node on IOTA network, and what are the requirements? Is the network decentralized?
Okay, that's a great question, actually. So, yeah, the network is decentralized because the network is made of a lot of full nodes, and full nodes are run by people. I have a full node. How do you set up your full node? Well, right now it's really easy. Actually, some days ago, the DigitalOcean added a Hornet image that is one of the full nodes that you can run on IOTA. So you can do it just by I think 3 clicks and you have your node running. You just create a droplet there, and then you select an image with the full node software installed, and you're good to go. If you want to do it by yourself, it is not that hard at all. You just gotta Hornet runs on Golang, so you just you can get a VPS. I am using a VPS that costs like 6 euros per month. You just install the needed things. It's very easy, actually. Now this new full node has auto peering, so you no longer have to struggle with the finding neighbors that want to add you and then end up being stable. That was a pain in the ass. I have been there. So it's easier than never. And also this new Golang based full node is way better in terms of performance and CPU usage than the previous one, which is the actual one, the IRI, that runs on Java, and it was a really CPU killer. So yeah, running a full node is very easy, and yeah, the network is decentralized, despite the fact that we have this coordinator that is in order to confirm the transactions. We have thousands of nodes, and every node has the same copy of the ledger, just as with any blockchain network.
All right. So the last question is, when you're confirming a transaction, you select the same 2 transactions intentionally or unintentionally. How does the protocol differentiate that which transaction gets accepted? So he's basically wanting to know if when we are when the transaction is getting approved, how the first two transactions are basically selected, and how does we differentiate, what is the process of that entire, how the protocol works?
Okay, so first of all, again here I gotta trace a distinction between confirmation and validation. Keep in mind that if I wanna input my transaction to the network, I have to validate 2 other transactions. Okay, I won't be confirming those transactions. I'm gonna validate them. Then the coordinator is going to run the network, and it's going to decide whether a transaction is valid or not, and it's, in terms of balance. And if you have double spending there, it's going to detect that, and it's going to left only the first one in, and the other one is going to remain unconfirmed. So that being said, let me read this again. When you are confirming the transaction, you select the same transactions intention. Yeah, you can touch the tip selection algorithm. You can do that. The way transactions that you will validate in order to get your transaction into the Tangle works is by something called TSA, tip selection algorithm. And basically what it does is it goes a number of milestones in the past, and then it starts doing some sort of random walk. And I say some sort because it is not 100% random. It is a biased random walk that considers the cumulative weight of the transactions. And this is a concept that we didn't cover today, but it would take a lot of time to cover all this. But okay, just the transactions the older they are, the more weight they get, let's say. So the way the tips are selected is by following this algorithm that will do a random walk, but will consider transaction weight. Okay. You can manipulate the TSA, the tip selection algorithm, but chances are that if you do so, probably your transaction won't ever be confirmed, because that is what the IOTA Tangle is about. If you wanna be part of if you wanna place your transaction there, you gotta help. So if you help and if you do your work fine, validating two other transactions, that you don't mess with the tip selection algorithm, your transaction is going to be confirmed very quickly. But if you start doing these sort of things, or you choose to validate your own two other transactions that are transactions of your own, probably that transaction that you just added is not going to get confirmed with the same probability that the other ones. Okay, so yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does.
Oops.
Sorry. The last question is, can you stream payments over the Tangle against data streaming in the other direction?
Yeah, you can. The word stream is it's a bit weird there, because actually the data channel, the data framework that is working like at a second layer level, it's called streams. But yeah, you can do that because it is all part of the same thing. So you have the network and you have the tokens and you have this second layer solution called streams to send data. Okay, so you're not sending value there, you're sending data, and you have different ways to protect the data, because the idea is to have subscriptions. I mean, I have this data, or my car is producing this data, and I want to sell this data. Let's say you want to sell it. So you need to control who is going to be able to connect to that data and who's going to be able to access that data. And that's why they have like this sort of channels. They create like channels, and then people can join in and consume the data if they pay. Okay, so yeah, that is not only you can do that. That is one of the main goals of IOTA. To have this interaction between data and value.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Daniel, for the inciting and such interesting session and learning about IOTA. We will be moving on to our next session, so we'll be taking a quick 2 minutes break before I start with the next session. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay. Thanks, Manav.
Thank you.